We've got Soren Hall, who says, what is worse, poor writing or wasted potential? To which I will say that wasted potential sometimes feels worse because it's just frustrating if you feel you can see that potential and, you see the delta between what's there and what could be. But I would answer poor writing because that is, at the end of the day, what people feel and experience and pay for.
Yeah. I would say I think that poor writing is perfectly fine if everything else is okay. In the prospect of if not spending all the time in the universe to get their writing perfect and figure out all that stuff, if they can just let loose and pump stuff that doesn't really matter or doesn't care, it doesn't matter to the long game, to the long lore, if it's just here, go, doesn't matter if it comes out a bit shitty, just actually make it. I think that is like something is better than nothing there, I think. If you're thinking about wasted potential for things they didn't write because they couldn't write it correctly. Because that's what I'm kind of thinking about a lot of the issue with content. I mean, it's weird because they definitely don't. I think their core problem is not being able to make enough stuff.
Yes.
But if at any point in the chain that is because someone has to pass a document through CDEV or through the lore team or anything like that for approval, and that holds it back, or there's like an iteration process on like quest dialogue that slows a quest down by some sort of chain somewhere, then absolutely throw it completely in the bin. Have your quest designers write everything completely free. If that means we get an extra 100 quests and expansion, like that's when I think of wasted potential World of Warcraft, that's what I think of.
Yeah.
I think of all of the stuff that they haven't done, and I would take awful writing over that hatred of what World of Warcraft isn't.
I guess I read the question slightly differently, which is like, I probably actually read that question wrong, and I think you got it right. To which I will say, I would rather have, not the best writing ever, but the other potentials to be met, because I think that's what we sort of need for the game feeling big. And WoW kind of, it would often have rocky writing, but overall would get over the line by having the content that people expected at the time. And it's worth saying at the time, because if Wrath of the Lich King came out today, people would regularly be screaming that there's not enough to do. Which we do need to remember, especially because Wrath of the Lich King had to reuse one raid for its first raid, had an entire zone and everything with Azul and Rub fall through, and Trial of the Crusader, it seemed like they just had to chuck that thing together to buy time for ICC. I mean, I'm glad they did, because it was a boss rush raid, and I loved it.
They did it, and Nax was reused, but so few of the population actually got to do Nax the first time. Reusing it was an actual genius level idea. It just, no one saw this. Release it again.
So we've got a come on buttons. Got a question from Big Red Bear. He says, I played Warcraft products since Warcraft 2, but just as a note, I like Sylvanas as the monster she is and has been since Classic. Craziest thing to me is them trying to make it out like she's morally grey. She's a psycho, and that's fine. She certainly makes extremely cold, horrible decisions. I think there is an internal logic with her. And I agree with the morally grey thing. I mean, ultimately what Blizzard are going to try to do here is make it so that, she sacrificed, the population of Teldrassil for the greater good. And that's just, I'm not going to bring in any real world things where a group of people has been killed for some sort of greater good, because it feels very disrespectful to do that with a video game. But I think Blizzard sort of trying to replay a story like that, a war of aggression, a big thing and a civilian target, and then if their lore is trying to justify that as a sensible, rational thing, I mean, I don't know, it just feels a bit different from like Culling of Stratholme to me, with how they're doing it with Sylvanas. So I think they just have to basically embrace that she's irredeemably crazy and evil. And that's that with Sylvanas. She's horrible.
I think a character that's awful but has just like justification internally, even if that justification is completely batshit, is exactly what a good character is. I think.
Garrosh was similar but far more successful, I think.
Garrosh is like, you don't empathize with him so much, But if you take the time to understand Garrosh's, is what occurred to him and his thoughts, you go, okay, well, you still absolutely lost your map and did horrible, horrible things and had a horrible opinion. But you know what? We can see how you were. I mean, it kind of tied into the whole Thrall thing where you can see why it's not like, you can see what actually caused that, what happened to Garrosh that actually, made him do that stuff. Not made him per se, but what do you call it? I just read a thing about the 4.3 boss in FF that distracted me. That's a comparison to Sylvanas, but it's like Garrosh definitely is a villain who has an actual proper lead up, and then Thrall feels a lot of remorse around that. So you can kind of get that. You can feel for him. Sylvanas is sort of the same, but they've tried to make her feel really, sometimes positive, sometimes quirky. They've tried to give you, they've tried to give players a way to side with her, which is, fair. Fair is like an idea for a game going forward and whatnot, but it just feels a bit like, okay, so you actually agree with a villain.
Well, it's weird. They've tried to have their cake and eat it because, so many Horde players were Team Sylvanas, and now they are literally forced to go against how they roleplayed their character.
Yeah.
Because surely if they were Team Sylvanas, then maybe they actually agree with her and the jailer that the whole thing's unfair. But, all of that sort of player choice stuff in BFA seems to have failed. And it seems like, as much as we'll do our N'Zoth video about how, it could be really cool that you still have the gift of N'Zoth, well, it seems like Blizzard don't really intend to pay off any of that. Or, there is some dialogue in this patch. It's a little bit different if you were a Sylvanas loyalist. But it's more that she's just like, really? Even you? Come on. Where it's like, in that case, you had no choice in betraying her. You're just forced to. They really bungled that.